I have been involved in the world of finance and asset management for best part of 30 odd years now. I have been involved in training people who are engaged in the financial world now for the last 7 or 8 years. In my former days, in my former career, I was actually the founder and CEO of an asset management company based in the United States. We also had offices here in Europe, of course. And then more recently, in the last few years, I have been engaged in professional education, training people in banking and financial services. The course covers 3 days, and during those 3 days, what I try to achieve is as much of an interactive approach, workshop almost approach to knowledge transfer. What I don't want to do is have just 3 days of lectures where it's basically myself just talking for 3 days. The content that is covered during the course will include equities, it will include futures, it will include bonds and fixed income instruments, the foreign exchange market, the money markets, swaps, derivatives in general. So we do cover a pretty wide, pretty much a comprehensive overview of financial products, the kinds of financial products that are traded in global markets, and derivatives which are based on those underlying financial products. One of the things I think that's fair to say is that in the last few years, especially perhaps since the financial crisis, but certainly for other reasons as well, the world of finance, the world of financial products and so on is ever changing. The underlying market structure, the way in which these various financial instruments are traded is changing, partly as a result of new technologies, partly as a result of regulatory changes and so on, all of which have made the world of these financial instruments that we'll discuss during the course, such as swaps, for example, such as options, it's very different today than it was pre-crisis, even different to how it was perhaps 4 or 5 years ago. Let me just give a specific example. If you're working in the world of swaps, interest rate swaps and other derivatives, there is now, over the last 3 or 4 years, as a result of regulatory concerns, there has now been a migration in terms of how these instruments are traded and how they're cleared, for example, away from the over-the-counter world, which was, if you like, the traditional conventional way in which these instruments were traded. Now they are being moved to exchanges. And as a result of Basel, as a result of various legislation passed in the United States and other parts of the world, there is now a need for financial institutions to conduct trading in swaps as much as possible, to the greatest extent possible, on either exchanges, known as swap execution facilities, or to have the trades that may originate in the bilateral world, the over-the-counter world, to have those trades cleared by central counterparties or CCPs. So the course is very much up to date. I pay close attention to all the changes that are taking place in the actual world of trading these financial products and derivatives. And I also pay close attention to the regulatory world, which also has a significant influence on the manner in which these various financial instruments are actually traded. Well, actually, to pick up from a theme which I covered really in the last question we discussed, if you take the world, for example, of swaps and various other kinds of derivatives, and the manner in which they are cleared now by central counterparties, as I mentioned, there have been significant changes in the collateral management and margin issues related to the manner in which, as I say, those instruments are traded. To give a specific example, what I will go through during the course, and the delegates will have this available to them in the form of an Excel workbook and so on, is to actually look at a concrete example of how you apply margin and collateral, posting of collateral, during the lifetime of an exchange traded or centrally cleared swap. And this is very different from the manner in which, say, collateral and margin was managed pre-crisis, and even more recently than that. So we do actually do a very hands-on approach to margin and collateral management in the world of centrally cleared swaps. What I try to cover in 3 days really is the essential requirements for somebody who is working in either the buy side or the sell side, say in the world of finance. We cover all the major asset classes. We cover all the important financial products that arise from those asset classes, and we cover derivatives which are in turn based on those underlying assets. And if you want really a highly compressed but in many ways very comprehensive overview of the world of financial products and derivatives, I think this course will be an excellent opportunity. Well, I would say that one of the real benefits is that you have 3 days of concentrated exposure to all of the key financial products, derivatives that are traded in global markets. You have access basically to myself for 3 days in which we can interact. You can ask me plenty of questions, as many questions as you want. In fact, I encourage that. It's so much better, really, than, for example, reading a textbook or reading articles that you might find, partly because those articles and books will tend to become out of date very quickly. And secondly, as somebody who remembers way back, some of these products and derivatives, for example, are fairly complex. And in order to understand them properly, it is probably the best learning exercise is to ask somebody who's done it or been involved in this area of finance for many years, and then I can actually help in the learning curve to enable you to have a better understanding, a better appreciation of the actual mechanics of these products.